Yes. All right, so we have started. So I have with me today Shannon Cully from Tycor Title. She is the face of Tycor Title, and she's amazing and one of my really dear friends. So Chan, thanks so much for taking time to be with us today. One of the things that I wanted to ask you, of course, when I first met you was actually at Tracy's wedding, which was eons ago. And you were not in the position that you are now for Tycor. And you had to go through some hoops to get there and some really hard work to get there. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, thanks for having me, first of all,
You're
and
welcome.
I'm excited to be a part of it. My journey in this industry goes back actually way longer than I've been in sales. I was an escrow officer for about 25 years. Then I took a couple of years off and went into the marketing segment of life,
Mhm.
and then came back to Tycor as in the sales side where I'm at now. So I've sat both sides of the fence. I'm the one that's pushing the escrow officers out there now and helping their clients build their business, which is different than when you're sitting behind the desk doing the closings.
Yes.
But it all kind of ties together.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's how I got there.
Perfect.
But I missed it. I have to say, there's something that gets in your veins in this industry. And when I left and went into a different industry for a little while, I missed this so much. So that's how I ended up coming back on the sales side of it.
Okay. Okay. So you are, like I said, you're basically the face of Tricor, and you do, push the escrow officers and this and the other people in the company to go ahead and kind of get out there front and center in front of everybody. So how do you work behind the scenes? What do you do behind the scenes that, like myself as a real estate agent, doesn't see, but that you have to do in order to keep that position in those roles and the company moving forward?
Well, let me first say that Tycor Title is part of the Fidelity National Financial family. So
Hmm.
we're the largest title company in the United States. So I love that you say I'm the face of Tycor. Maybe the face of Tycor Southern Oregon,
You're the face
but
of my Tycor. You're
I
the face of
know,
my Tycor. And
I
that's all that
know,
matters, Chan.
and I love that. I love that. Um, so so what I'm doing daily is I have a sales team of about 5 people that encompass Jackson, Josephine, and Coos counties, and we are constantly out there trying to have conversations with the brokers. What is it that they need to do to build their business? How can we help them? Being part of such a large company that we are, we have access to so many tools and platforms and ideas and things that we can do to help a broker build their business in the direction that they want to go, because not everybody has the same vision, right?
Correct.
So on out on the streets, that's what my team and I are doing. Here in the office, we're reminding our escrow folks that they need to be present with their clients or their targets. And this is where I realized that I was a little bit different than most escrow officers. Most escrow officers are, they're a little more quiet. They're a little more focused.
I
They're a
won't tell
little
your
more,
husband you said that.
I know, right? They did, I did great as an escrow officer because I had a assistant who was hyper focused.
Yeah.
So while you've got me, like a typical salesperson who's got widely diffused focus, I had a great assistant who was able to keep things. Okay, Chan, go get back to what we're doing. We're get back on
Yeah.
task.
Yeah.
So, so because of her, I was successful on a desk, honestly. But I would not have traded any part of that experience to be able to do what I do now. So now I get to go to my escrow team and say, okay, here's what needs to happen. Here's what this target client that we're trying to target for you, this is what's important to them. So this is what
Mhm.
you need to do. I need you to make sure that how are you communicating with them?
Yeah.
Do they prefer to be communicated with by text, by email, by phone? Do they want to hear from you once a week, no matter what, if nothing's going on? Or do they only want to hear from you when something's going on? And every single person is a little different. And so we try to track that for them because they get so many things going on that sometimes they lose track of that. So
Hmm.
we will help them, remind them. We also are constantly on social media, which is, some people might think that's a fun part of the job. For me, it's a little bit, it's a lot, but we're constantly looking, running the websites. We're seeing who took new listings. Are we on the preferred side of that listing? Do we need to get in front of that broker? What's going on? Our goal is to obviously win the market share in our markets,
Mhm.
and that's part of the way that we do that. So
Okay. Okay, perfect. So you've told me a lot about what you do for the agents, what you can do for their business and help them grow, along with how you can help Tycor grow. So what do you do with clients who don't have an agent but think they can sell the house by themselves? What are things that you offer, especially on the backside? Because there's a lot of things that title does and escrow does that even a regular homeowner has no idea to look for. So, what are some of those things that you can offer for just the general public if they're not using an agent and they want to sell a house?
well, first of all, I've been in this business for 35 years, and I would never recommend selling a house without representation. Um, that's my personal opinion, of course, and I know lots of people do it, and lots of people are successful at it, and I think that's wonderful. And that's great. But I've also seen the worst of the worst, and so
Yes.
to me, if the first thing I'm always going to have a conversation, if somebody calls us and says, "Hey, I want to sell my house, what's my next step?" My first conversation with them is, "Have you considered getting a real estate broker?"
Hmm.
If they have not, then I will give them 3 to 5 names and say, "Okay, you need to interview these people, find out who fits your needs, have conversations with them, be honest with them. These people are
Absolutely.
going to guide you through the process, not only of selling this home, but hopefully getting you into your next home."
Hmm.
And so that's my first conversation with them. If they still say to me, and some do, because in this era, it seems like since COVID, um, and I know that it's not has doesn't have anything to do with COVID, but in my mind, that's where the cutoff is. People spent a lot more time researching things
Yes.
and becoming their own professionals.
Yes.
And so they sometimes don't want to do use an agent, and that's okay. That's totally legal. Um, Again, at your own risk, sort of thing. We don't provide the contracts. That's the first thing. Well, I need a sales agreement. Great. You're gonna probably need to go to Staples or Office Depot or something like that and get a contract once you've got a
Hmm.
buyer. I would definitely suggest that you make sure that you have something in place that even if you're not hiring an agent to represent you, that a buyer's broker could come to you,
Yes.
and you need to know ahead of time, are you going to be willing to pay for that or part of that, or is the
Correct.
buyer going to need to pay for that? Because that's a very relevant conversation right now.
Hmm.
But
Yes.
I always, and that at that point I say, but remember that agent is only representing the buyer. They are
And
not
that's a
representing you.
that is a great point because everybody thinks as long as there's an agent involved that they're represented, and that's not always the case.
Yeah, dual representation is a different thing.
Hmm.
I mean, it's legal in Oregon, and I don't necessarily think that that's always the best case either, because how
No.
do you neutrally represent the best interest of the seller and the best interest of the buyer? So
Correct.
but I do know that there are some situations where that can happen,
Hmm.
but it's a rarity. So, so that's kind of how I would guide them. We can't give them legal advice, of course. There's
Correct.
a very fine line between practicing escrow and practicing law, and practicing real estate is entirely different as well.
Mhm.
So if you need a real estate broker and you have questions that only a real estate broker, don't call me and ask me whether or not you have to have new smoke alarms, because I have no idea. And which is why I will always have an agent representing me. But, again, at your own risk. So,
Yeah. You guys on the flip side though, like when we had agents start with our office or just newer agents that I mentored, part of what we had them do was go meet somebody at a title office because they needed to know, number one, who their team is, what you do on the backside, what is a preliminary title report, what kind of judgments do you look for, are there any liens, are there any things like that that we're going to carry over to the new buyer or that you're maybe the new buyer is coming in to purchase, but now they have IRS liens, or your client, the seller, has an IRS lien that needs to be taken care of. All of those come up in a preliminary title report, which is again, if somebody comes to sell their house by themselves and they have someone buying it, they may not even know the whole process. They could have somebody who's coming in to purchase the house that has, back taxes, or that they may not have talked to their lender about. And those things are on the preliminary title report. So if they don't come to a title company, they may kind of get hosed in the end where somebody all of a sudden can't buy their house and they've already, closed on another one.
Yeah.
So,
The what we do is when we have a new agent, my sales team and I, we have a series of a minimum of 3 appointments that we set up with a new agent. The first one is just to introduce ourselves and get to know them, get
mhm.
them comfortable coming in the doors and understanding what role the title company plays. Because title and escrow is sort of like a hot dog. We're the mystery meat of the whole process. Nobody really knows what it is. So we like to be able to explain to them a little bit about, and remember that a lot of these agents are younger and they've never bought a home, so they don't know. They really don't know. They really think that we're a title loan company, like you would get on your car. No, nope, 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 nope. We're
Yeah,
different.
no.
So the first thing we do is we sit down, we learn about this agent, we learn about what their background is, what interested them in real estate, what focus they want to do. I mean, are they looking at residential, commercial, rural? What's
Yeah.
their uh, their bailiwick, their main interest point? And also we talk about their sphere of influence. We talk about are you on social media, and letting them know that this is an important method of getting your name and your face out there. I always invite new agents to jump onto my Facebook page, and because mine's public, and they can friend all of the real estate people that are on there, because it's also real important that other brokers recognize their name when
Yes.
they are making an offer. Because if they don't know who they are, they might go, if they have competing offers, they might go, gosh, you know what? I've worked with this person before. I know this deal is going to go through.
Hmm.
The other thing that we talk about is we talk about connecting them with some lender partners, because they really can't effectively represent a buyer if they don't have some lender partners or understand some of those loan processes.
And those are always changing. So it's great to have a partner you can reach out to anytime.
And I recommend a minimum of 3 loan partners, because every lender or bank or credit union has different programs, and you need to
Yes.
understand a little bit about what each is. You need to understand what is an FHA. You need to understand what is a veteran's loan look like. Is it assume all of the things? There's so many pieces.
Yes.
And again, this, like you said, this goes back to creating your team.
Yes.
We also we end the next meeting that we have is we talk about marketing, and we talk again a little bit more about the role of the title company. We introduce them to an escrow officer that we think will be a good connection. Sometimes
Hmm.
we have two that we go back and forth with. If there's somebody like that, sometimes we know exactly, oh, the right person for you is this person.
Yes.
Making that connection is so important. The third meeting we do with them is actually the preliminary title report review and the mock closing. So we will sit down and do a mock closing with them so that they have experienced a closing from the broker side before they actually have to do it with a client. So,
And
so
that's
those, and then if they
huge.
want more meetings, we can do that as well.
Yeah. That mock-up is so huge because by the time you get to the closing table, if you're missing something, now you've just wasted a lot of time and the lender may not be able to fund on time, which now your lock expires. You've wasted someone's time. They could lose the contract on the house. So understanding how all of that rolls and wraps up towards the tail end is hugely important. So I'm glad that you guys do that. And there's not a lot of people that will sit down and do that. And that's a big finishing point.
It is. To me, that's the way that we've been able to obtain and retain a lot of our clients. You also mentioned things like IRS liens and that sort of thing, judgments. It's important to know that, yes, well, obviously a judgment, an IRS lien, a state tax lien, a Department of Revenue lien, those are going to show up on the preliminary title report for a seller, but we're also searching for those things against the buyer. The one thing that people forget that we're also looking for is if there's support, child support or spousal support. So if they pay a person directly, we're going to need to go to that person and ask for a satisfaction saying that they're satisfied up to this date to be able
Yes.
to move forward. And a lot of times people don't realize that that's something that's a public record like that.
Hmm.
Um, it doesn't affect their ability to purchase on a purchase money contract, but it's something that they should be aware of. And if you're if you're a new agent and you're dealing with a buyer who's recently come out of some hard times, these are good questions to ask.
Mhm.
Did you file a bankruptcy? Have you had tax liens? That sort of thing. Did you go through a divorce? Is there a support
Yes.
judgment? So,
Yes. And it is really good as an agent to know all of those things ahead of time. And like you said, when you do these mock trial runs, those are questions that they're going to learn to ask. So for instance, I've had clients where um trust. Oh, so this isn't a trust. Okay, well, I'm going to need a copy of the trust so I can get that to the title rep. So that's done ahead of time. Oh, you've had a bankruptcy. I'm probably going to need those papers to send to the title rep so we can see where we're at. Same thing. I had a short sale 10 years ago. Okay, that might be something we're going to need paperwork on. That's probably up to your lender. I do have an IRS lien, or I have child support, or I pay my child support directly to my ex-spouse. Okay, I'm going to need documentation on that. So for
right.
us as an agent, to ask those questions to get those items that we need, it not only kind of helps save time and move things along, it takes a lot off your plate too, so that we can all kind of work together to wrap this thing up and to have it be a smooth transition for our clients as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The other thing to kind of be on the lookout for is if you're dealing with somebody who is elderly, um, specifically, but anybody really. A lot of the stuff we do now is by computer. We send a secure link, but a lot of older people aren't comfortable with that. Some younger
Correct.
people aren't comfortable with that, and that is okay. It's just that keeping that communication line open, we can still do it old school. We absolutely are
Yes.
happy to do that. It's just the processes have changed over time, and we've been able to, streamline things electronically these days. But some
Hmm.
people are uncomfortable with that, and that's okay. So understanding where your client is coming from, whether they're the buyer or the seller, and what we need to do to make them more comfortable is important. Because remember, as the broker, you've created probably a long-term relationship with that client. You have been working with them, grooming them for the sale of the home or getting them ready to buy a home for many months and sometimes
Hmm.
even years. They meet us for literally all of,
Two
they start hearing
seconds.
about us for 30 days and they get to meet us for about 30 minutes. And so
Yes.
when we're asking them all these personal questions in that amount of time, it's a little uncomfortable. So you are their cushion and their comfort, and they're going to look to you for that advice and that guidance. But we are always here. So I never want a broker to feel like they can't call us and ask us questions while they're walking through this process, because sometimes clients, buyers, and sellers do ask hard questions. And you,
Yes.
as the real estate brokers, are not expected to know everything. Again, that's part of creating your team, a lender you trust, a title company you trust, knowing that you can call me on a Saturday afternoon and be like, Chan, I'm writing an offer today, and this buyer says this. What do I need to know?
Hmm.
Great, let's walk you through that.
Yeah.
Real estate does not work on bankers' hours, 8 to 5,
No,
Monday through Friday. That'd be dreamy, right?
that would
It
be
just
amazing.
wouldn't. It would be amazing. But I my phone is always on, and I think that's part of the reason why I've been successful with my clients is because they know that if they have a question, they can reach me and almost any time, even in the middle of the grocery store,
I
experiencing
I do believe I've done that to you before
you. I've actually, yeah, run into you in the grocery
in the
store,
grocery store.
beautiful Saturday morning, hat on, sweatpants, just getting it
Yes.
done. But
Super
yeah,
sexy,
so
super sexy. Yes.
super sexy. Yeah.
The other thing too, with what you just said about just kind of being prepped for anything, I know that there's been a couple of times where I've had clients, specifically husband and wife, one is not doing well or passes away and or is in the middle of passing away and we need to get this signed. We're right at the tail end of a transaction and we need to sign documents and they do not do technology. So what's wonderful is that the escrow officer left and came with me. We grabbed a witness and came with me and they sat with my client and did the signatures there to sign off on the house. So
Yeah.
that was one of the things that I really appreciated was it didn't have to be by the book. They bent over backwards to make sure that my clients were taken care of. And that was a huge help. The wife was just absolutely ecstatic about it. She's like, I wasn't sure what I was going to do with this because, of course, when somebody passes away, it takes weeks to get the death certificate and yada, yada, yada. So timelines are huge.
Yeah.
And that was just one of the things that was amazing to me was that, there wasn't a hesitation. It was like, great, grab a witness. I'll meet you out front in 10 minutes and we'll go do this.
Yeah. Most of the time, my escrow team is very willing to make that happen. But if their time gets a little pinched,
Mhm.
because sometimes going out of the office to somebody who is in not in more of a fragile health, sometimes that requires more time. And so that's when they'll tap me and say, hey, can you go do
Mhm.
this? And which I'm happy to do. If I'm available, I'm happy to go do that.
Yeah,
So,
you guys do really well about bouncing back and forth with each other and helping with that. So
yeah.
I do appreciate that. Um, I think that's all I've got for you for right now. I'm pretty sure that there's things I'll harass you about later. You guys do a lot of continuing education credits, classes and education classes like that, especially newer agents. I would definitely tell them, please go do all of these. You're going to need to know this at some point in time, and it's just going to make your life a lot easier and a lot easier for your clients. So, what do you have? Any say-sos on that? What would you like to do a shameless plug on for that?
Well, absolutely. I would say that it's really important that every agent, whether they're experienced and years in the industry or brand new, get to know your title company partners. Understand the entire scope of what it is that we can do
Mhm.
for you. We also have a customer service department where everything the customer service department does for you is free, which is awesome. So
Yeah.
if you're needing to do a farm or something like that, and if for those of you who are not familiar with the term farm, farm is focused area radius marketing. So I'm not talking about sending letters to the farms. I'm saying
You can,
farming.
but
Yeah, if you have a buyer that with a specific need, let us help you find those specific needs. Are you looking for a specific size of home, a specific age of home, a specific area of home? Do you want a swimming pool? Do you need an outbuilding? Do you need a separate garage? All of those things. Maybe there's things out there that aren't on the market, and we can help you farm to get in front of the people that have those things,
yes.
for the buyer that you want. We can also help you, look for people of a specific age range if that's helpful. Anything that Ask us anything. If we don't have it, we'll tell you, but we do have lots of things that are available to agents that are completely free to you. We also have platforms that we can connect you with, and there's charges for those. Those are usually third party platforms, but they've been vetted by us, and we are feel very comfortable about how well they work for our clients, because ultimately, in order for us to build our business, we need to help you build yours. If
Hmm.
you're not doing business, we're not doing business. So we want to make sure that
Correct.
you are doing business, and we're here to help, however it is, whatever that looks like for you.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate your time, Chan. I really do. And I know the podcast is called From Grit to Greatness, and I know that you jump through hoops and hurdles to get where you're at to make the business that you take care of really great. But you're also doing that, sorry, my dog's head, but you're also doing that for other agents.
Yeah,
They get started and some of them don't know what they're doing. It's like I just jumped in and said I'm going to do this, but I really have no clue what I'm doing. I mean, I've
right.
been there 20 years ago. I was like, yeah, I don't have a clue. You know?
Exactly.
And so you help build that. So you go from the working the grit and pounding the pavement, all of that, but you guys are a really big key to making sure that those agents hit the greatness part of it. So
Every agent starts somewhere, right? You look at the top 10, they were new once also. So it's
yeah.
okay. Let's get you built up. Let's help you out. So we're here for you. Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate your time, Chan. Thank you so much. And I will go ahead and I'll reach out to you here in just a little bit. And maybe we can get together and do lunch and get in some kind of trouble, I'm sure.
Of course, I'm sure we can. All right, friend. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
You too. Bye bye.
Okay, see you later.